What's up, Dub Nation? That's my E40 voice. And I'm here to talk about stuff that no one talks about when it comes to the Warriors. First of all, wore my Lucky Giants jersey. Hopefully, Otani doesn't end up going to Toronto, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm a casual Giants fan. I'm just hoping for the best. But as far as the Warriors, let's begin this segment. Today, I wanted to talk about a couple things that nobody talks about. And I used to call this no one talks about, but I guess really I'm the horse whisperer for the Warriors. I looked this up. Wasn't quite sure what a horse whisperer was. And it says, I like the part about empathy and building trust. And that's what I'm here to do. And so we are going to talk about what no one else is talking about, which is the strength of schedule for the Warriors and how many games Draymond has missed. But then we're going to start out with the rotation. Steve Kerr's rotation. What is it? How does it work? And how did Kuminga fit in? And how can we move forward with Kuminga having more minutes? All right. So first of all, you got to understand that the rotation has some rules of engagement. And one of those rules is that Steph Curry is targeted to play 32 minutes per night. This is why. This is under the recommendation of Rick Celebrini. Who is Rick Celebrini? He is the Warriors' head trainer. Now, I forget his actual title. You can go Google it. But look at all this information here. You've got inside the training room, he'll go ahead and discuss recovery is crucial. And University of British Columbia, that's probably how he knows Steve Nash. He's the one that prolonged Steve Nash's career, and he's the one who's prolonging Steph Curry's career. Now, I don't want to get into the ecosystem of the offense for the Warriors because a lot of that actually, instead of running pick and roll 50 times a night, as Kerr has said on the podium a couple times, will run a motion offense. And that also helps preserve Steph long-term from getting beat up by the switch defenses and stuff. But the reason why or how I figured out just what the rotation is, and we're going to go in deep. You're going to come with me into this play-by-play, and we're going to dissect the rotation. I don't have spreadsheets yet. If someone wants to volunteer and help me out with that, that'd be great. But I first discovered the actual rotation when I did this breakdown against the Clippers. And let me turn off the sound there. But in the Clippers analysis, I figured out that Corey Joseph was coming in the game, and it was like, why is Corey Joseph in there? Well, CP3 wasn't around, but we played a certain style, and then when I looked into it, it turned out that Corey Joseph was checking in with Brandon Pajemski and Moody, I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong in that. But they would check in at about the 4.5-4 minute mark. And if you just go in the play-by-play, that's when the second unit comes in. And again, this is all based on Rick Celebrini, okay? So if you're going to get to 32 minutes a game, then that's 16 in the first half, 16 in the second half. That's the template. Obviously, that's more for like the good old days in 2017 and 18 when we dominated teams and Steph could literally just play 32 minutes a game or maybe sit the whole fourth quarter. Those days are over. The NBA has a lot more parity. Our team got older. And so the goal is 32, but most nights it's going to go over 32, and we'll dissect the play-by-play to see just where that gets adjusted. But if you just go down, so now if you go to the NBA.com website, you can go to any game that you want. Okay, you just navigate around. I happen to still have this up from my previous live stream of the Warriors against the Blazers. So it's still here. And I always like to keep it. I don't like to look at all because it's just too long. I like to keep it quarter by quarter. And I like to keep it the way it is, where it's 12 minutes and you're counting down. All right. So now let's look at, because against the Clippers, I noticed that Corey Joseph, Brandon Pajemski, Moody, they would check in at about the 4-minute mark, 4.5. Here we go. Chris Paul subs for Wiggins, Pajemski for Green, 4:12 mark. So that's the first indication of a sub. And then Klay, if you've noticed in the games, Klay comes in for Steph. Of course, Klay gets subbed out up here at about the 7:12 mark. And Moody for Klay makes sense. Moody has been playing awesome. So let's take Klay out. And this is how you build your rotation. And by the way, I also want to add that for those of you that want to just throw Steve under the bus for these rotations and when to sub people in, the framework of this was not only Rick Celebrini giving the direction, the directive of 32 minutes a game, but also Mike Brown. Mike Brown was the spreadsheet guy. So he had a spreadsheet of all of this stuff, and you just divvy up the minutes, so and so and so and so. I'm sure Steve is using Mike Brown's template, right? So they've decided that the 4-minute mark would be a good time to sub out Curry. So let's stay on Steph, right? So let's find out when he subs back in. Okay. Everything is built around Steph. So then you scroll down and you want to get to 16 minutes, right? So let's take a wild guess. When would he check in? At the 8-minute mark, so that he would play 8 more minutes. So you go from 12 to 4, that's 8 minutes. And then now you go from 8 to 0 in the second quarter. There's your 16 minutes. And you want to do it where Steph is just playing 8 straight and then playing another 8 straight, right? So gone are the days of when he would play the entire first quarter, which was largely with Kevin Durant. So we could kind of get away with it. Haven't really dug into that. But those rotations were for a different time. The rotation that we have now seems to work with how well the second unit is playing. And sure enough, 8-minute mark, Steph comes back in for Klay. Interesting, isn't it? So now Klay will come back in later, but you can see how the second unit kind of comes in, right? Comes into play. So where would you put in Jonathan Kuminga? So that is the tricky part. Well, without going beyond, Steph, we talked about Klay. The second unit coming in for Wiggins and Draymond. Let's take a quick look at Saric and Looney. So Saric and Looney comes in a little bit before that. Okay, it's not as important to talk about that in today's discussion. Again, we're thinking Curry and we're thinking Kuminga. So what happened in that game? Well, I'll tell you what happened, and a lot of people don't realize this. Take a wild guess. Who did Kuminga actually replace in the rotation? Well, let's just scroll down a little bit. We're in the third quarter. Oh, look, it's the 7-minute mark. Klay comes out and Looney comes out. Really, this should be Moody for Thompson. Obviously, the NBA scorekeeper got it wrong. Saric for Looney, but it's okay. It's all 4 guys are listed there. And then we'll keep Wiggins in just for a little bit more, just to see if he can get going. But we're bringing in Brandon Pajemski regardless, right? And then here, ironically, Draymond just committed 2 turnovers before that. I thought at first during the live stream, and if you go back to the live stream, I thought maybe it was because he committed the turnovers, but it was actually the rotation. And so Kuminga for Green, 4:45 mark. Who was supposed to come in for Green at that point in time? Who usually checks back in with 4 minutes to go after being subbed out earlier? If you guessed Klay Thompson, you were right. Kuminga actually replaced Klay Thompson in the rotation, but that's with the second unit. And that's kind of how the rotation goes, right? So now to integrate Kuminga, you would have to follow this script, or you would just do something easier, which is maybe to start him. So tonight against OKC, I have a feeling, I could be wrong, but against a younger team like OKC, you might as well plug in Kuminga for Looney starting spot. All right. So I want you guys to know the key takeaway here is that to get guys more minutes, there's a certain structure of this rotation, and it is that Klay comes out at around the 7-minute mark, okay? And so does Looney. You can intermingle these guys. You can switch them around. That's fine. But it's not Draymond coming out at the 7-minute mark. It's not Steph. And it's probably not Wiggins, because Wiggins kind of gets staggered a little bit. You don't want to sub so many guys at the same time, right? So then Wiggins is there, and Podziemski hasn't done anything wrong, so he's going to be in the rotation. Moody hasn't done anything wrong. You might consider, just if you don't start Kuminga, then maybe you sub Saric out from the second unit with Kuminga. But you see how this works? It's like you don't really change the structure of the subs. And that makes it easier to have guys understand their roles. And you can see here that Chris Paul subbed for Curry. We were struggling, so Steve left Curry in a little bit longer than the 4 minutes, with the 4-minute mark, because normally Steph plays 8 minutes a quarter, right? So this one he played 11 minutes and maybe a little bit more if they need him on the last part of the offense with seconds dwindling down, but no. All right, so that's the structure of the Warriors rotation. It's Steph is going to play 8 minutes, 8 minutes, 8 minutes or more, 8 minutes or more. That'll end you up with, 32 to 37, 38 minutes. And if you look at the box score, you will see that indeed Steph ended up with, we got to switch this to all periods on the box score now. Steph ended up with 35 minutes played, and that's a safe amount of time. All right, I want to add one breakdown play, and that play is, if I can find it, that play is the last play. What we will do here is we will just roll the tape straight from the play-by-play. What people don't realize, the last thing to add, is that we actually need Klay to start and finish games, at least to finish games. But to start Klay is the same reason to have him finish. And here's why. Let's just watch the final play, the game-winning shot, basically the dagger by Steph. What happens here? Klay is going to set the pick on Tybal so that his man Simons, much shorter than two-time second-team All-NBA defense player Matisse Tybal, gets switched. So Steph will get the switch. Now, if this wasn't Klay, if that was Moody, what would you do if you were Portland? You would blitz Curry. That's too easy to deal with, right? So that's why we have Klay in there, to have this gravity. If you were to blitz Steph and leave Klay wide open right here, no coach in the NBA is going to allow that. So there's your switch. All right. If this was Moody, they would just blitz Steph, and then Moody would be wide open. And there's not a coach in the NBA that wouldn't prefer Moody shooting wide open rather than Steph going one-on-one against the guy that's the same height as him with the clock winding down. We're talking the greatest shooter of all time. All right. So this last play, to me, the Warriors Whisperer is telling you that the importance of Klay on this play, don't overlook that. Klay had as much an impact on that last shot and last opportunity for Steph as Steph did executing it. And so that's my video essay on the rotation, how you would integrate Kuminga. It has to be in one of those blocks, whether it's Saric's block or Looney's starting block. That's how it goes, right? That's how you would integrate Kuminga. And this is mostly just a surface level understanding of it. I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me to really actually plug in Kuminga and come up with that's the next level. So we might go into that later. But anyways, all you got to do is Google NBA strength of schedule, and you'll see that we just routinely end up in the top 5. Now, I included this graphic from Monday on Power Rankings Guru. This is a daily tracker of strength of schedule. On Monday, we were first. And before that, we were first. We were having the most difficult schedule in the NBA up until the time we played Portland, obviously, because Portland is one of those cellar dwellers in the standings. So now we're 5th, and we've got to play OKC again. That'll bump us up probably 1 or 2 notches. We've got to play the Clippers again. So one thing people don't realize is that if we just go to the bkref.com of Draymond Green, we've actually not had Draymond for 10 games this year. Why 10? Because, well, we just look at this game log. I tell you what, he was inactive for 2 games, remember? Then he got suspended 5 games. Remember the Denver personal reasons game that he missed? So that's 8 right there. And then there was the Minnesota one where he got ejected. And the other one where he got ejected, was it Cleveland? I think it was. Anyways, only 18 minutes played there. We haven't had a full game Draymond in 10 of the 21 games. No one's talking about that. And so for Draymond to just come back, now you got Wiggins just coming back. Now you got CP3 just coming back. Give it some time, guys. GP2 isn't even back yet. Have we had enough reps with the starting 5 whose heartbeat is Draymond? Have we had enough reps yet? I mean, the standings will say that we've played 21 games, but we've really only played 11 games? Only 11 games with Draymond at full Draymond. So remember that. The strength of schedule without Draymond for 10 of those games. Give our team a break. Root for our team. That's all I ask. And I want to remind people, got this little graphic I saw on Instagram. Like this is how things go in the NBA for every team. It's never a straight line, right, guys? So I hope you understand that the NBA is tough, man. And the schedule will get better. And the more games Draymond plays, the more chemistry we'll have amongst the 5. I'm not the only guy saying this. Tim Kawakami, John Dickinson, we all agree that for the Warriors to win a championship, they're still going to need Klay and Wiggs to play well, to play championship level basketball. It's not going to be Moody and Kuminga that are going to start game whatever in Boston or whatever. It's going to be our main guys. And so let's root for them. But of course, we're going to make as many adjustments as we can in the rotation per the set parameters. So I hope all of that made sense. If not, just come to our live stream tonight and every game when I do the Manning cast on this channel. Just ask questions and we'll go from there. So let's keep it together. Just Us 123, and we'll see you soon.